Before I get started, I just want to mention that if you are brand new to Blender animation, meaning you've never inserted a keyframe, never seen the timeline and so on, I do advise you to watch my rigging and animation for complete beginners video first. Okay? Because I will go a bit faster in this one. So anyway, here I am in Blender, and I'm not going to be using the animation tab this time. I'm just going to stay in the layout because I have the timeline here. So first of all, I'm going to add a sphere, Shift A, Mesh and UV sphere, and just shade smooth it. And now I want to add a control object for this ball so that I move it and not the ball. Okay, so Shift A and empty and cube. There we go. So now if I click the ball and then Shift click the cube, Control P to parent and object. So now if I move the cube, the empty, the ball moves as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the front view and open the timeline. And let me open this view with N as well here. And transform here. I'm in the item section. So we want this to start from, let's say, somewhere here. Okay, something like that. So to specify this position, to key it in, I'm gonna click the cube and press I. And I'm gonna be animating location for now, but still I'm just gonna click location rotation scale here. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna open this arrow here just so I see everything. Here it is. And notice here in the transform that everything is yellow, and that is because there is a keyframe in this position. Okay. So now if I move to, let's say, frame 11, for example, I can move this down, and I'm just gonna have one here, 1 meter, so it's at the bottom. You can see that it's orange because the value has changed, but it hasn't been keyed in. Okay, so again, I location rotation scale, and if you remember from my other video for complete beginners, because this doesn't have any fill, we can see here also that we are rotating on the z-axis. Okay, so where there is fill, there is no change. Where there is no fill, there is a change. Okay. Okay, so now let me select, just click anywhere or just drag to deselect. Select the first keyframe and Shift D to duplicate it, and I want it at frame, let's say 20, so that I get that little loop of up and down. And if I change here my end frame to 20, and this can actually be a 21 just so it's a bit smoother with the ending. Okay, so if I play this now, we get this animation, which is really automatic. It's not what we're looking for. So to change that up a bit, I'm gonna go into the graph editor. So if I hover with my mouse here, I can control tab, and here I am. So again, we are animating on the z-axis. So just click the z here, z location, and Shift H to hide everything, and home to zoom in on it. And now here we can see what's happening exactly. So we can see here that from the first frame it's easing in, but then again it's easing into this middle one, which we don't really want, and easing out as well, which we don't want, and then easing into this one. Okay, so again, that's exactly what we see here. So to change that, I need to change the way this curve looks. So by default, if I just select this keyframe and move it, whoops, and move it, you can see how it's behaving, and this isn't what I want. So what I will do actually, I will click V and choose vector here to change the keyframe handle type to vector. And now we get basically exactly what we want. So we have that sharp coming in and sharp coming out. So if I play this now, you can see already it's much more convincing and more natural. And if I modify this a bit more, so just select this handle, G, and just move it a bit to make it steeper, and this as well. You can see that we're changing the effect now as well, and it's a bit more realistic. Okay. Let's now do the full animation so that the ball actually ends up on the ground. I'm gonna Control Tab here, and first of all, on this keyframe, the ball is at the same location as the first keyframe, right? Which isn't correct. It should be less, but I'm gonna leave it like this just so I can show you something later on. And I'm also gonna change the N here to 72 so that it's 3 seconds long, the animation, so 24 frames per second. Okay, so the next step is, and let me actually scroll up just to see this more clearly here. So the next step is for the ball to be at the bottom, so select these and Shift D and move them, but not to 30 now, but less, because we need to have less and less space now between the ups and downs. Okay, let's also select this one, Shift D it and move it, let's say maybe to here. We can change this always, of course, so frame 32, that might be overdoing it a bit, maybe 34, and we'll see what we get. Now let's actually make sure to change the position here, so drag this down to maybe here, and I, location, rotation, scale, okay, again duplicate these ones for the bottom, so something like this, and duplicate both of these, why not, just to make it faster. So here now I'll drop them here, so this one is at 43 and 48, and let me see, it's here, and this can go quite a bit down, and then just have two small ones or short ones here now. So for this one, it's gonna be, let me see, somewhere here, and this one is gonna be here, and then Shift D this one, which should be less, and try something like this and see what we get. Even though I think it might be a bit, these ones are the same actually. Okay, so let me bring this down, and I, location, rotation, scale, and let's see now. I didn't key these ones in, okay. Even better, because I wanted to bring this one down for sure. So this one is gonna be somewhere here, I, location, rotation, scale, and this one nearly at the bottom, something like this, I, location, rotation, scale. Okay, and of course again we can always tweak this, it's not a problem, just kind of block it out now more or less, and that should do it. So let's see what we get now if we play this with play, and we can see that the animation is actually quite weird. Okay, so why is that? Well, we can see why if we go to the graph editor. So Control Tab and Z and Shift H to hide everything else, Home to zoom in, and we can see that our graph is a bit weird. And this is because we changed this first keyframe to vector, if you remember, and now all of these are vector, which isn't what we want. It kind of is, but not right now. So what I'll do is I'll select these bottom ones. So every second one, make sure to select. Let me just do it again because it's a bit hard to see. So every second one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I will press V and auto clamped just to basically have them as they were originally. And then again I will V and vector. Okay, and you can see that we get that nice curve that we want, which again we can tweak some more, but it's looking much better. And we can see in these keyframes, which is what I was talking about before, that this keyframe and this keyframe, the ball is at the same height. And we can adjust that here. That's why I left it. So GZ this keyframe and just bring it down to wherever you want. So something like this. Okay, so let's play this now and see what we get. And you can see that we have that nice animation now. Okay. Again, you can tweak this some more. Of course, you can make it maybe a bit sharper here by selecting this one and moving it a bit, like so. And out as well. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is the point, how you would do it. So just make it a bit steeper. Let's see. Okay. Let's now make the ball move across the screen. So at frame 1, I want to move it in the X. So GX and move it to here somewhere. And I location rotation scale. Okay. So we can see here we changed its X location. And let's see what happens. So if I hit play, and we can see that it still ends up here. And if we go to the graph editor, we can see why. So if I now turn off the Z location and switch on the X location and Shift H to hide everything else, Shift H to hide everything else, and Home to zoom in, we can see what's happening. So what's happening is that all these other keyframes are with X at 0, okay? Only this one isn't. So what I'll do is I will select all of these keyframes that are not the first one and delete them. So X delete keyframes, okay? And now I'm gonna go to the last frame, so 72, and move this ball to here somewhere, wherever, and I location rotation scale, and there we go. Okay, let me home again to see everything, frame it up basically, and if I play this now, we can see that we get that nice animation. However, it's again by default easing in here, which we don't want. We want it to have some force here, right? We don't want it to just ease in, it doesn't look natural. So for that, I'm just gonna grab this handle and have it be something like this. So let's see now. And now we can see it comes with a bit more force. We can again, let's see, make this steeper. Okay. And if you make it too steep, it will just be too forceful, so something like this. So I'm just gonna have it as something like this, I believe. Let me just see again. Okay. Obviously, this part, it doesn't look the best. Again, that just comes down to tweaking. For example, between these two keyframes and then these two, the distance is the same, it should be less. So I could move this back, and we have a bit of a weird thingy going on here when we play. I mean, it's not really weird, but it can be better. But again, this just comes down to tweaking, and I don't want to waste time on tweaking, which you can do yourself. Just space this out maybe more evenly, and then a bit less here, and so on. So maybe I could have had more distance, for example. Let me see. Maybe a bit more distance between these two, and then less between these two. But yeah, again, I'm not gonna change that now. As it is good enough for this video. Okay. Let's now add some squashing and stretching to the ball. So at this frame 11, it's at the ground, so the frame before, I'm gonna SZ and stretch it out a bit. And when we do this, we need to remember to maintain volume. So I'm also gonna Shift Z and bring it in a bit. Okay. And I and just scale now. And here as well. So as Z, stretch it out a bit. As Shift Z in a bit. I scale. And this frame we want to squash it. So SX, stretch it out a bit, S Shift X, and do a bit of this, and bring it down. Okay, something like this. Okay, I location rotation scale. So let's see if we scrub through the timeline now. We have this. Okay, looking pretty nice. And let's also rotate it here a bit as well. So R, and just rotate it a bit like so. And I rotation, and here as well R a bit like this. I rotation. Okay. And let's do the same thing here. I'm in here. So frame before, just a bit less. As Z and as Shift Z, bring it in. Okay. I scale, and here as Z, as Shift Z, bring it in a bit. I scale. Okay. And squash it here. So as X. A bit less, something like this, as Shift X, something like this, bring it down. Okay. And I location rotation scale, and let's also rotate it a bit here as well, something like this. I rotation, and here as well, I rotation. Okay. And here just here just a bit, so let's as Z a bit, as Shift Z like so. I scale here as well, as Z a bit, as Shift Z, I scale. And less rotation, so maybe a bit like this. I rotation, and here as well, just a bit. I rotation, and squash it here, but not as much. Whoops, I pressed Z there, so SX actually. S Shift X, something like that. Okay, I location, rotation, scale, and the rest are fine. So let's see what we get. Okay, looking pretty nice, and we can switch off the overlay so we see just the ball, and it's pretty sweet actually. Okay. Let's now add some rotation to our ball, because at the moment it's not rotating at all, which we can't even see right now, but we can if we add some materials. So I'm gonna go to the shading tab and select the ball and add a new material and make it whatever red. And front view, let me just period and go to materials here, create a new material. Okay, for some stripes so that we can actually see the rotation, so Alt Z for X-ray, which is happening, and face select obviously. Okay, so select these, shift these, and shift these, and yeah, white is fine, I guess. Why not? We just want to see the rotation. Okay, so back in the layout, let me switch on viewport shading here. So let's play this, and as you can see, we have no rotation whatsoever. But also, we don't want to add rotation to the control object, because that's going to interfere with the rotation and scaling and whatnot, whatever we have now. Okay, so we want to actually rotate the ball itself. So at frame 1, I'm gonna rotate this a bit, like so. And you can see here it's rotating in the Y. So maybe something like this, or maybe actually something like this. Okay, and I want to key this, so I and rotation. Okay, and then at frame 72, I'm gonna rotate again and rotate this a couple of times. So something like this. Okay, and I and rotation. And once again, if we open here the Y rotation now for the ball in the graph editor, that is, so Control Tab and Shift H to deselect everything, Home to frame it up, we can see again here it's ease and into rotation, which we don't want. We want it to rotate more in the beginning, right? So just adjust it like so. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, looking pretty good. Now to render this out, I'm not gonna be adding lights and setting up the scene and so on like I did in the rigging and animation for complete beginners video. I wanna do it quickly and show you another way. So what I'll do is, first of all, I'm gonna add a camera. Okay, so Shift A and camera. And I don't need the view, the timeline that is anymore. So I can just bring it down like so. And let me go to view here and the camera to view and 0 to get that camera view. And now let me find my ball. Okay, so here it is. And turn off the overlays. So obviously you can do whatever you like here. Maybe move it a bit more like so. Let's see. Okay. maybe a bit from here, so that we can see the squash and swedge better. Yeah. Okay, might even add a plane actually. Let me just see. Okay, yeah, so one to go to the front view. Let me actually add a plane. So mesh plane. And just scale this out. Let's see what's happening here. Material preview, show overlays, okay. So let me see now. Yeah, just make it bigger. Okay. So something like this is good enough for me. Okay, so what I will do is, instead of going here to render and render animation, I'm gonna go to view here and viewport render animation. Okay, but before that, let me go to output properties here and change the file format to FFmpeg video, and let's see, encoding to MPEG-4, and this output folder for me is gonna be this ball folder that I have for this project. Okay, so now if I go to view that is and viewport render animation, okay, there we go. And we can use Blender's built-in video player to view it. So render view animation. And this is it. The quality obviously is not the best, but it is quick and effective. Okay, that's gonna be it for this one. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.